team, that our team, the line, I don't believe we can go out with the same offensive. I don't think we have to change our offensive line to an extent. You know what I'm saying? I don't think you can sit there and say, well, we can just sign Zeitler, sign Glasgow back. I think Glasgow's 1 year, I think. And then automatically it's going to be back to being a number one or number two or number three deep offensive line in the league. I don't believe that, man. I think that this team has to, and we kind of got exposed. We did. To me, I thought we kind of got exposed in the 49ers game on our offensive line. We got away with it, but with the things that we were doing because we were just overwhelming them, offensively, that type of thing with big chunk plays. And I think, well, let's be honest, I think the thing that we have seen, especially when David Montgomery got hurt, I thought our offensive line was sort of like in no man's land a little bit. They were still blocking, but I think Jameer is more of a reaction, see the whole boom a little bit quicker and maybe don't wait for the play to develop quicker. I mean, like the patience like Dave Montgomery. So I think that was kind of a transition a little bit for offensive line. I don't think nobody really want to admit that because they want to keep saying we got Decker, we got Ragnow, we got Penei Sewell, and then just everything's going to be fine. And I think that's totally the wrong approach, man, coming into this draft.
Fans that's mentally stuck on who they like.
Yeah,
man.
And
who they're my guys, and I want to keep my guys around.
Yeah, to me, Glasgow, I've seen enough. You know what I'm saying? Glasgow totally got exposed, man, to me. The last couple games, the Washington game, he was the whole offensive line wasn't good, against the Commanders. That's number one. But
what up, John?
I just really believe that this draft that we're gonna hit some guys. Well, the Lions can hit it out the park with offensive line, man. And I think that the key to our team, the key to our success, the key of remaining an elite team in NFL is the offensive line and the defensive line. I mean, we'll get into the D-line. I love these shows, man. I didn't think we was going to start hitting these shows so early because I still thought we had 2 more games to play, but it is what it is. You know what I'm saying?
And it's a huge off season.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. It's huge, man. In the Senior Bowl, I'm just give you credit, man, for your draft insight, your the kind of scout you are. I mean, you've turned me into a guy that I kind of know what to look for when I look at a player. I just don't look at the school, look at the helmet and say, oh yeah, this guy's going to be good. Look, I said that when Aaron Murray was quarterback for the
Georgia.
Yeah, just automatically thought Aaron Murray was going to be good. Oh my God. You know what I'm
like
saying?
When we all thought Aaron Gibson was going to be a great offensive lineman because he was huge and he went to Wisconsin.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Ryan Dame went there. Yeah.
Remember your boy was talking about his helmet?
Yeah. Yeah.
When I saw his helmet, I'm like, dude, that was the ultimate pause back in the day. When I saw his helmet, I fell in love. Like, really, dude?
Right, yeah. Because even Ian Book, I was wrong on Ian Book. That was my guy, no quarterback from Notre Dame. I think Saints wound up drafting him, but that guy's a backup quarterback, man. Sometimes I think
Ian's a potential offensive coordinator probably somewhere.
Yeah. So I think with these shows coming up, I really do think, we hit the Senior Bowl, we hit, the Shrine Game, just players that people just don't got to look at that can be an asset to our team. So
got some breaking news real quick. I don't know where Ralph at, man. Ralph just sent me this via Woodward Sports that Antoine Randall is going to Chicago.
Oh, wow.
To join that staff over there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it
just 2 minutes ago.
Yeah. Good job, Ralph. I thought that I read something that Randall was gonna maybe be promoted to assistant head coach. I thought, but
he's got to be getting promoted, definitely.
Yeah. Good for Randall. I mean, and I don't think, and this is what I want to say, okay, about our staff and about the media. I've heard a lot of people say, "Oh, well, it was some friction between Ben Johnson and Dan Campbell." And
where's the proof?
What are you talking about, man?
Where's the proof? I can't stand when people do that.
Yeah.
Anybody can make a graphic and go on there and say, I heard sources say, but nobody has brought anything concrete to what they heard from anybody. It's just
Yeah,
sources.
it's so stupid, man. Listen, those guys deserve to get head coaching jobs, man. Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn. I mean,
Yeah,
to
Brent.
me, I think Hank Fraley staying on board, you know what I'm saying, with the squad too as well. I think
So he ain't take the Seattle job?
no,
I
I
know he
heard,
had that second interview a couple of days ago.
yeah, I heard Hank Fraley. I think I seen it came across on Instagram that he was gonna be part of the running back. What was kind of funny was I thought Scotty Montgomery was the running backs coach, but I did see he was offensive line and a running game coordinator now for Hank Fraley. So to me, that was kind of weird because my antennas went up unless Scotty Montgomery's going to be the OC. You know what I mean? I thought that was his area. So, yeah, I'm going to just say this about Chicago. I'm just going to say this about this team, even though it's not Chicago content. They picked the right guy for Caleb Williams. I do think that this team could be a problem. Only this is why I'm going to say this. They need two guys on offense, right? Let's just say, since we talking draft, they took the best offensive lineman, even though they took Darnell Wright last year, and somehow they took Ashton Jeanty. I think that would be, oh my God, that would be a situation. If the Bears wound up I was thinking of this, if the Bears somehow got Ashton Jeanty, you know what I mean, for that team, man, because that's kind of what they need. You know what I mean? You can try to sell me DeAndre Swift all you want. Yeah, that's fine, but they need a Jahmyr Gibbs type, and I think that.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's probably the perfect lead back for them. And then you
Mhm.
pair a guy like Roschon Johnson with him.
Oh God,
it could work. My only question with them is there's unquestioned leadership over here in Detroit. Dan Campbell. People may question Dan Campbell as a play call or this and that X and O's guy. We don't have any proof to really question that either. He spent time in Miami. He spent years in New Orleans under Sean Payton. So I'm pretty damn sure Dan Campbell can call plays and put things together. But if you're looking at Chicago, where's the leadership? Like, nobody across the league questions Dan Campbell's ability to lead men.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to give a shout out to Coach Hugh Jackson, because I talked to him asked him his thoughts on this a few days ago, and congratulations to him on his new spot, matter of fact. And I asked him about leadership. And there's a difference between a guy being a bright mind offensively, and being able to put you in positions to be successful offensively, and a guy who can actually lead a locker room full of alpha males. So I think we're gonna find out in Chicago, will they be able to move the ball offensively? That's possible. It's pretty sure.
Yeah.
They've got talent. They had talent this year. But when I look at Caleb, and I'm not as down on Caleb personality-wise as a lot of other people, I do think he's a guy who mentally, he's pretty bright offensively, and he's going to challenge you. He's going to challenge his coach. He's going to challenge people around him. I just think that's Caleb's part of his whole mental makeup. But if there is no leadership, you're going to need somebody. We talked about Aaron Glenn possibly before any of this even happened. Aaron Glenn, I felt, would be better for him over Ben Johnson. Now, Ben Johnson may be better for Caleb offensive-wise, scheme-wise, and everything, but I think if we're talking about somebody who will have a better impact on him as a man and as a player, I think Aaron Glenn probably would have been better for him and Chicago for that defense. But, that's neither here nor there. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
But I just think that they have what we have? Do they have the grit, the toughness? They got talent over there in Chicago. Do they have the leadership? There's a lot of questions to be asked. Yeah, to be answered about Ben over there.
Yeah. Like you said, man, it's interesting because, like I said, the media throws stuff out there and say things about, like I said, were they not getting along? And it's just ridiculous, man. You know what I'm saying? I think that, we never had any good team. So we never really had our coordinators getting plucked, or, you know what I'm saying, our half our team, coaching staff, going for interviews and things like that. It comes with the territory, man. And like you said, I think if anybody's is capable of keeping and building up his staff, and building these men up, what's up, Curtis? What's up, Lamar? It's just like Dan Campbell's the man for the job, man. As far as like building, team building, if you want to
Right.
say,
I wouldn't want to go through this with nobody else as my coach than him.
Yeah, right.
And no other GM than the one we got.
And it seems like he promotes with it. People don't realize. Remember, Anthony Lynn was the offensive coordinator before Ben Johnson. And it didn't work out. Like, what was it? 5 weeks into the season, 4 weeks into the season, Dan make a decision, say, hey, it's not working out. I'm gonna take it over and I'm gonna give it to Ben, that type of thing. So it's not like he's incapable of seeing like if it was a bad decision to give a guy a shot. Or so I think his best interest is for the team. I really do believe that. I think he'll put the right people in place, man. Just like a Randall Well was here, and remember we had Deuce Staley, and Deuce Staley went on because I think it was some other family stuff.
Dre Bly was here.
Yeah,
brought him back. Dre was here for 1 year, and then Dre got let go.
Yeah. So I don't blame Chicago. Listen, you got to try to get the best offensive guy. I thought they needed the best offensive guy out there to not fumble Caleb Williams, man, and they did it. I mean, you can't get upset with Ben Johnson for leaving.
Well, they tried. I think if nothing works out for the Bears, and let's say if this doesn't work out in 3 years, it won't be from lack of effort. If people look back on this day 3 years from now and say, damn, it all failed in Chicago, all you can say is, well, they tried. I mean, at that point in time, Ben Johnson was the hottest name in the league. Mm-hmm. They went out and got him for Caleb. It just didn't work out. The Bears definitely trying. Mm-hmm. Now, will it all work out ultimately?
And and let me just say this, okay? People were saying, well, yeah, and that's why they lost the game against the Commanders. They say, shitty play calling. He had 1 foot out the door, blah, blah, blah. Aaron Glenn had 1 foot out the door, and I think it's ridiculous, man. I mean, our team, listen, don't make excuses, man. Our team got outplayed. They got smashed. They got punched in the mouth. They got suplex. They got elbow from the top rope. They got power slam. They got stone cold. They got every narrative you want to say. Don't sell the Commander short like that. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't because Ben Johnson was getting interviews, and it wasn't because Aaron Glenn knew he was getting. That's ridiculous in my opinion, man. You giving the guy way too much. Talk about what happened on the field, man. Talk about the lackadaisical effort from this team, man. It was ridiculous. The offensive line play, the quarterback play, constantly getting beat, on down the field, not giving Jahmyr Gibbs the ball. I think that was the wrong move, you know what I'm saying, on certain down and distance and situations like that. So that was right. It wasn't because Ben Johnson was taking interviews. I don't think that was the reason why we lost the game. You know what I'm saying? Well, I've heard that too. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely not, Joe. Man, listen, it's the off season. Y'all remember last off season, I started throwing on different hats. Yeah. Man, speaking of that, I was in the day of the Commanders game that afternoon. I was in Liz. Mm-hmm. And I picked up a Washington Commanders hat. That boy was cold as hell.
You already got a black Commanders hat anyway, right?
No, I don't have a black Commanders hat. They were selling. They had the burger, by the Commanders being in town for the game. All the hat stores were selling Commanders gear too now, to appease the Commanders fans. But I told Robert, who in the comment section, because he was with me, I'm gonna buy this Commanders hat, but I refuse to buy it today. Yeah. And I walked out the store like I can't let people see me buying the Commanders hat.
Yeah, I agree. I can't even buy another, like you said, paraphernalia from another team. I couldn't do it. You know what I'm saying? Just if it's not from our team. And I like what Corey just put. I was just gonna say, I don't like that Ben. Now I don't like he went to Chicago. I don't. You know what I'm saying? Because that's the part where I don't think that it's not a good thing that he went there, because let's just, not that I'm scared of Ben Johnson, like he's going to unseat the Lions and he's going to outcoach Dan Campbell. I'm not worried about that at all. I just do think, he public enemy number one in my book now. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I'm not. Nah, man. You know what I'm saying? you ain't with us no more. You in Chicago. That part of it on the field, like I'm just like, okay, now you got to beat
I
this
think that's
guy
part of the bad feeling, and I think that's part of the
twice a year. You know.
yeah, and the fact I think that's part of the sour taste. A lot of Lions fans have. I will say this, man. I think we all been through it before. We all been in I see Joseph. I think we all been in that situation where we didn't have to necessarily hate the current job we were at. Now, and who knows? That's why I try not to get into the whole he say, she say, well, I heard this. I wasn't there. So I don't know if Ben Johnson had an issue with the ball boys. I don't know if he had an issue with the person that replaced the soap in the bathrooms, Dan Campbell, whoever. None of us know. I don't get caught up in that because it's over with now. It's pointless to even try to bring it up. It's just a whole bunch of he say, she say. But
Yeah.
just staying focused on the game, I do feel like we've been in that situation where I got a new job lined up. You might have been applying for jobs while you already got your current job. And don't let it be a job that you really don't give a damn about. This is my last day. Whatever y'all got going on tomorrow, I can give less than a damn about it. I'm about to go start my new job. Did it feel like he put forth a full effort? I don't think he did. Did it feel like he put offensively? He tried to put Jared in the best opportunities to be successful. It didn't. It didn't feel like, to me, it felt like he really didn't give a damn. Now, is there a difference between verbally saying, look, guys, this is my last game today. I don't really give a shit. I'm gonna go out here, I'm gonna call this generic ass play called this generic ass scheme today. And y'all gonna go out there, execute it, and I'm gonna get the hell out of here because I gotta get the rest of my staff put together. To me, it just feels like he didn't care. He wasn't that invested. The offense that we seen all season, to me, that game offensively looked like the Tampa game from earlier in the season. All the drop back calls. And what did we say after that game? It felt like he was trying to prove that Jared was the guy. 55 pass attempts in that game. Remember that? In a 20-16 loss. What wasn't it 20-16?
Yeah, 2016.
Tampa.
Yep.
Why is he dropping back 55 times?
Well, I could just say this though. Like those plays that he was running, they've been doing that all year. I mean, the Jameson Williams.
The trick play, but
yeah, they was doing bull. They was doing bull like that all year. I mean,
there was no energy though.
Yeah,
it just didn't you say it felt like it was off? Like the first drive, it was dead. The first drive was dead. The 3 and out, starting to set in the tempo with an injured Montgomery. Then the very next drive, Amik Robertson breaking his arm. Like it just everything felt dead in that building. The offense had no tempo to it, no pace. It was just.
I just felt that, like from the ticket sales, like what I'm saying is like, okay, when people like real fans say, you know what, I'm going to sell my ticket to maybe this guy who might not even be a fan like me, right? And may not. I just felt that the energy in the crowd, that's good. It's funny you said that because I kind of thought the same thing. Because we even scored the first touchdown, I think it was. And like you said, it seemed like the building was kind of like not rocking like the other playoff games. And the reason why I brought up the crowd was, you know, you got people that can afford that ticket and may not be a diehard Lions fan, like the guy who had that seat and say, you know what I'm saying? And say, you know what, I'm going to sell it to this guy who might not be, you know, fan. He might not cheer as loud. He might not be a casual, you know, fan like me. You know, he might be a casual fan instead of a fan person, you know, however you want to say it. But so, yeah, I think that the building was dead. I agree with that. Somebody brought up David Montgomery, and I thought that was weird too. Because remember, we had Ted Rath on, and Ted Rath was even kind of like saying like, the whole Montgomery thing, you don't really have to rush them back. Why are you rushing them back for this game, man? It was crazy how they had to make it was almost like it was a loyalty thing. Like, David,
thank you. That's what we was just talking about. It felt like you're still part of the team.
Yeah.
You're our tone setter. We don't care that you missed the last 5 games or whatever, 6 games, however many games it was. You're our guy, and we're loyal to you.
And
And it's like they
we
just
don't
kept
want to
doing
win
it.
this. Right. We don't want to win this without you. We want you to experience this too. And it's like everybody knows Dave Montgomery's a part of this team. You don't have to force it on. You know what I'm saying? We know that. So yeah, I mean, I do think the only thing that was alarming that Jahmyr Gibbs didn't get it more touches because he had over 100 some yards, but he only had 14 Russians in the whole game. So yeah, I do think that, but I think the quirky play call, what was it, the 4th and 2 that me and you both was screaming at the TV, and they wound up throwing the no, when Jared fumbled the ball, I think that's what it was. Jared fumbled the first turnover. But yeah, all those other calls, I just thought that it just, like you said, it wasn't no zip. Even St. Brown, he had 8 or 9 catches in that game. It just seemed like he was kind of like not the same. You know what I'm saying? It was weird,
yeah,
man.
I
The whole
think
game.
instead of going up 14-3, you wound up turning the ball over in the red zone, and the Washington Commanders wound up scoring on that drive. The play, and whether people say, I get it. St. Brown says what he says. St. Brown's also a classy player. I don't expect him to come out and be a Lance Stevenson to somebody and say, "Oh yeah, you know what? Screw that coach. He didn't have us prepared." He's gonna say that. Everybody in this organization takes the high road. But I think when you're up 7-3 and you're driving, and Jahmyr Gibbs is averaging 11 yards per carry. He's averaging a touchdown, not a touchdown, but he's averaging a first down per carry.
Yeah.
And you get in the red zone,
Yeah.
and it's 3rd and 1, and it's obvious that the Commanders are bringing extra heat. I still remember that play. The Commanders are obviously bringing extra heat, and you go 5 wide. Well, actually, you go 4 wide, and then you motion Montgomery, you motion Jared Goff's only protection to help him if his linemen get beat. You motion Montgomery out in pass route.
Yeah.
And then you leave Goff back there to get his head knocked off and fumbled. I think listen, I got a nephew, very, very good at Madden. And I hate making the Madden or NFL comparisons. Nobody does that dumb shit. And I'm just going to be as point blank about it. You don't do that dumb shit. Not in the red zone. Even if you wanted to throw the ball on 3rd and 1, I don't have a problem with that. But you don't obviously see the heat is coming, and you don't account for none of the hot men at all.
Yeah.
You left him back there to just get hit. The play calling was not good at all. And if people watch that game and they say that play calling was identical to what we saw all season, I'm not talking about the trick play. Screw the trick plays. Like, the game was we were already dead. And that felt like just something even more idiotic. The play call, then to go away from Jahmyr consistently, Jahmyr will have 3 hot carries, then you'll just go next possession. You go right back to Montgomery. And it became very obvious early he had no lateral movement at all. And you just kept going back to him. So I get what St. Brown said. I heard it earlier in the week. But if you have 2 eyes and you watch that game, I don't need St. Brown to tell me what I saw. I saw it myself. There's certain codes in pass protection that you don't violate that were consistently violated that game. So, like I said, dude's gone. I get, Lions fans have been, almost a full week now. We all still upset about it.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's to be
man.
in the situation we were in and to look that bad after having a week off, and then there's no juice in the building. Don't just tell me it was bullshit play. I mean, it wasn't the play calling. We all watched that game. So what was it then, St. Brown? Because there was no energy from you. There was no energy from your quarterback. There was no, hey, listen, on the sidelines, we got to get our head out of our ass. This is the playoffs. It was just dead there. Dead. And we're not used to seeing that from a Dan Campbell coached football team.
Well, I'm gonna just say this though. Sometimes that's a heavy burden, Brew. That's a heavy burden to. I even put a lot of pressure on the offense. Remember, I said the only way that we could win this whole thing, and let the offense score 40, 42, 45. That's hard, man. That's a lot. So I just think that the offense knew that if they had it, they may now. We talking about playing tight. We talking about playing, and that's a team. This is a team they've never played like that. I think that was so shocking because they've always been a team that answered the bell every time, at least the last 3 years, 2.5 years. So I do think, Walt, they realized that they were behind the 8 ball. And after the first mistake, maybe, maybe they got rattled. You know what I'm saying? Because they didn't play like, even I think everybody can agree that's watching, that watched the game, can say that wasn't the Detroit Lions that usually plays, right? I thought that just once the first domino fell with the first turnover, I thought the pick six to Quan Martin, I thought that was killer, man. I thought that really, you knew that it wasn't going to be the Lions game after that. You know what I'm saying? It just, sometimes you can't stop the bleeding, man. Sometimes when that snowball's going down the hill, you can't stop it, man. And I think that's what happened. I'm not going to say that. I just thought it was too much to bear for the offense. I really do, because I thought that the offense could do enough to beat this team. I really did. I mean, I was just disappointed by that because they didn't do it. And the offensive line was horrible. It seemed like they pinned their ears back and they knew that the Lions just couldn't do anything past giving it to Gibbs. And I thought that, St. Brown got some key plays, but it wasn't impact plays, this week. Sam Laporta had the nice catch, J-Mo, nice, touchdown. You know what I'm saying? But it wasn't sustainable, man. You know what I'm saying? Gibbs was the only thing that was sustainable Saturday night. And it was like,
no, I agree.
It almost seemed like this is what I thought. I thought by halftime, I thought we were in trouble at halftime, but this is what I felt. I said, okay, we usually second half, we turn up the heat, we get some turnover. I thought, Branch would make a play, Kirby Joseph would make a play. You know what I'm saying? We somehow get to the quarterback, and it never happened, man. You know what I'm saying? Brian Robinson, damn good running back. Austin Eckler's been a shell of himself, and he played well. I mean, give him credit. I mean,
I think they dominated our defensive line too. And just to give a shout out to Sholo, man, I get everything you're saying, and I agree. I don't think it's all Ben Johnson. It was a combination of things. Even the defense, I can't really fault Aaron Glenn for what happened, because if you take a defense that's struggling to stop people, but they had a great plan against Sam Darnold 2 weeks prior. But when you take a defense that's struggling, for the most part, they losing so many people. Outside of DJ Reader, we had no size up front. And for Washington, for a team that, they were top 5 in the league in rushing for the most part, but a lot of that was Jaden Daniels. But all I saw was the Commanders' offensive line consistently getting to the second level. Brian Robinson, Austin Eckler. How many runs did we see in that game where them dudes got through the line of scrimmage untouched? Got to the second level. Tackles and guards at the second level blocking Jack Campbell and them. And I'm not faulting him either. I think they were overmatched. And when you got a defense that's overmatched the way our defense was overmatched, and the offense is having a bad game, that's a bad combination.
That's a bad combination.
The offense had 5 turnovers. So you're asking a bad defense, a struggling defense, to keep getting stops.
Yeah.
And the offense isn't going anywhere. So
Yep. And then Ben was trying to, and I get the draw, and it's a good point by you, but putting Goff in the spot. But I do think Ben Johnson got caught up in maybe trying to get it all on one play, and boom, and let's get it back real quick.
Get some juice real quick.
Yeah, and I think that was the reason for the dropbacks. But like you said, it was still out of their element. It's something that they don't do. But it was just weird. I just, the whole thing was weird. And when I keep going back to it, Jaden Daniels didn't really kill us with his legs. You know what I'm saying? He didn't really do a lot. He did enough just to, he just looked like the more poised quarterback. It was weird just seeing it. And, we could wrap up the talk on this because it's just, bring you to a place of, and I'm not pointing any fingers, man. I'm not pointing any fingers.
I know.
You know what I'm saying? We lost. I mean, we doing these draft shows. It's time to move on, man. You know what I'm saying? Now I do want to just mention this, the whole Super Bowl window. I think that Super Bowl window is real. That's a real thing in the NFL. Do I think the Lions still in that window? I think it's about halfway open. And I'm just going to say only because the coaches left. You know what I'm saying? Because I do think it's got to be new continuity built up But
Definitely.
we still got all the players. I mean, and then we're gonna
Yeah.
add to this team. So the Lions are still an elite team, man. I just think that it just ended like we didn't want it to end, because I'm telling you, we wasn't planning on doing none of these shows yet. You know what I'm saying? And it's like now we got to do it. So
Nah,
yeah,
I get it, man. I think if you look at what we do have, and we talk about this like every all season, you can't really focus on what you don't have, because what you
yeah,
no longer have is out the door. So what do we have left? Damn good GM.
yeah,
He not gonna just blow through the cap and just sign a bunch of bum ass players. He's gonna be frugal. Now, does he have his things? He does his philosophies that you and I don't always agree with. This, sure, but we got a damn good GM. We got the culture set in place. Head coach is set in place. All of our key players, whether people want to argue it or not, we got 6 or 7 players who are all considered top 5 at their positions in the league.
yeah,
And all of those dudes are either 26 or under the age of 26. And
yeah,
all of those dudes were born and bred in this culture. So all of these draft picks we got coming up too, all of those players are going to come in, and those players are going to be born and bred into this culture. We got a
yeah.
ton of talent, and I like what Mark Slayer said on his podcast a couple of days ago. He's the only person I actually seen that actually spoke up for us about all this. You know, everybody's talking about what this team is losing. This team, he said the same thing. They've got a damn good GM. They got a damn good head coach who has his hands all over the pulse of this team. His heart is in this team,
Yeah.
and they've got a ton of young talent. So they're not going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah.
You know, so like I said, I'm confident we'll be okay ultimately, man. It's just we're not the only team historically that's had to go through this. You know, we all understand we're not the only team that won some games, had some offensive success, some defensive success, and then wound up losing a bunch of players. I mean, players or coaches for the matter. I'd rather be in a situation where we lose the coaches, because at least we grew the coaches that we are losing, which gives me confidence that these dudes can grow and pick the next guys, and we'll ultimately be pretty much okay. So.
Yeah. And I just want to say one last thing. I do about the Lions this season. I do think home field does matter. I really do. I mean, it didn't matter for us this year, you know, based on what happened. But we get home field next year, you know what I'm saying? But it may not be 15-2. It might be 13. You know what I'm saying? This was just an unprecedented year that you had to get 15 wins to win the whole, you know, to get the top spot. You know what I'm saying? I thought that was unique about this season, where it felt like, excuse me, it felt like the last 4 weeks was a playoff setting anyway for the Lions. You know what I'm saying? And it seemed like just the strain, the whole, you know, we gotta have it games at the end of the season. I thought, and let's be honest, not that I'm making an excuse, I thought it really took its toll on this team, man. You know what I'm saying? I remember the 49ers game to me felt like a game that maybe we could have took the foot off the gas, and we didn't, and we went in there and just mollywopped that team, you know what I'm saying, and got ready for the Minnesota game. I thought the Minnesota game, they played as well as they can play on defense, you know what I'm saying, and I think that was just so much.
That game took a lot out of them, man.
Took a lot out of them.
This is a 17-game season.
Yeah.
So,
and Dan even said it as much in the post-game press conference. He said, listen, man, he said, you know, you got guys that are beat. Their bodies are beat up, man. You know, not that you given crap. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's the Chiefs, Buffalo, Commanders, Eagles all say the same thing, man. Them guys are beat up, you know, but they, you know, what's making the love for the game and what these guys want to accomplish and goals, I think, is keeping them going, man. You know what I'm saying? To finish, they see the finish line, you know what I'm saying, and they want to run through the finish tape. So, yeah, man, it's just disappointing. But
dude, the
like
season felt so long and intense, though. Like, can you imagine? Like, y'all really want to go to a 20-game season?
Right.
Like, dude, like it just. The seat, man, we talked about this last couple of weeks, man. It felt like we played all 17 weeks.
Yeah.
Mentally. And you want to add 3 more games to this, man. But they would have to add another bye. Because what this team did, we would have been, if we would have went on to win the Super Bowl after having a bye week in week 4?
Was it week 5? After week 5.
Yes. If we would have went on to win the Super Bowl after having a bye that damn early, we would have had to been considered one of the greatest teams ever, because it's crazy, man, that they had the bye as early as they had it. had all the injuries they had the second half of the season. Well, it all started week 7 with the in the Cowboy game with Aiden Hutchinson. But and somebody just mentioned that in the comment section. It's like you know how it is when you down by 30
Yeah.
in the NBA and you go on a run in the second half or whatever, third quarter, fourth quarter. You exert so much energy cutting that 30-point lead down to 8 that by the time you cut it down to 8, you just gas out. And then the opposing team just go on a little 10-point run and then just push the lead right back up. It felt like we put so much effort and so much heart into this season that by the time we got to the playoffs, and that could be it too. Maybe I'm overthinking it. Maybe the team was just dead.
Yeah.
Even though they had a week off, maybe legs was dead.
Mm-hmm.
You got to factor in this weather. It's been bad cold here too.
Yeah.
The last 2 weeks, and that has a lot to do with it as well, man. I think that's the reason why Ted said a lot of players like to rehab in warmer weather.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it could have just been a bad combination of things. Maybe that's all it was. I don't know. But at the end of the day, man, it's all over, and we can move on to this.
Yes.
This is the most fun time of year, man. Detroit Lions 2025 draft picks.
Yes.
We picking 28th in the first round. Second round, we picking 60th. 60th. Ain't it 60th?
Let's see.
30, we picking number 60. That just sounds terrible.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So then you talking about we get the third round because before we didn't have a third round pick. We get the compensation pick from the Aaron Glenn signing with the Jets. That spot is to be determined. Fourth round pick to be determined. We don't have a fifth. I'm pretty sure Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes are probably working on getting us a fifth. We got a sixth, which is to be determined, and we got 2 7th-round picks. More than likely, I seriously doubt if they make any moves with those 2 7ths. Those 2 7th-round picks probably will be packaged with something else to move back up.
Yeah.
Maybe get a fifth or whatever it may be. But so this team got a lot of issues, man. I think it's mainly depth-wise because ultimately, at the end of the day, if we would have had 3 or 4 players, there's a good chance we probably beat the Commanders that game or whatnot, and we go on to win. But Hutchinson coming back, Aleem coming back, other guys coming back. We got depth issues. We got size issues at certain positions. We got athleticism issues at certain positions. We're going to start out today with the offensive line, man, because we've been talking about the O-line since last offseason. Decker's getting long in the tooth. He seems to be getting injured and nicked up more and more with every passing season.
Excuse me.
Penei Sewell's top 5, top 3, top 2 offensive linemen in the league, regardless of left side or right side. Frank Ragnow, when he's in there, he's still one of the best centers in football. Top 2, top 3. Now, once you get to the guards, if we're being completely unbiased about the guard situation, we can use some upgrades. And Mahogany showed us some great things down the stretch of the season and then play off a little bit.
Yeah.
But you and I both agree we can use a help at the guard position.
Oh, yeah.
Some flexibility, center guard, and also the tackle position. So we're going to get started today, man, with the tackles. I want to make sure I pronounce Ozzy's name completely correctly because at the end of the day, I don't want to mispronounce the name. But Ozzy Trapilo. Ozzy Trapilo, offensive tackle from the University of Boston College. Give me a couple things you want to get into first about Ozzy.
Oh, man. First of all, it's a mountain of a guy, man. The perfect guy to have on your offensive line. 6'8", 309 pounds. Like I say, University of Boston College is becoming a hotbed for offensive linemen lately. You know, remember we went the Christian Mahogany route last year, from Boston College and turned out to be all right pick. But this is what we need. While we need a guy like this size, athleticism, right now, defensive rating, he was rated on Draft Buzz having a 75% defensive rating, meaning he wins 75% of the time. He's great in pass blocking, which that comes key because we have, the weapons we have, 89%. Run blocking too is not too bad, 74%. He runs in line. He is projected to be a 4th-round pick, and it's somebody I think the combine is going to do this guy some justice. Obviously, he's going to be in the Senior Bowl coming up, but I think the combine, I love the combine. I like to see the individual workouts, you know what I'm saying? But we can already see this kid's huge, man. I like nimble on his feet. You know what I'm saying? He commands a lot of space. And he just looks eager just to his dad played too in the NFL, so I like that lineage. To have a family member play in the league. I think that especially if it's your family member, your dad or anything like that. I do think that's a lot of valuable information that you can gather. You know what I'm saying? And pointers and stuff like that. So yeah, I like it, man. I just think he's gonna just start ascending right now. Like I said, projected fourth round pick, but he could maybe go as high as a third. You know what I'm saying? Depending on what his workouts and how he plays in Senior Bowl. So this a guy also because let's be honest, I think the thing now with the offensive line, if you look at the ones that are left in the playoffs right now, you look at Kansas City, you look at Philly, you look at Buffalo, those teams got huge offensive linemen. You know what I'm saying? We can go up and down their line and just measure out, these guys, and it's unreal. So yeah, man. I do think in the trenches, like you said when we first started the show and the pre-show, you have to continue to bolster that part of the side of the ball. That keeps your team elite, man. I really do.
Oh yeah, the trenches.
Yeah. So
definitely.
Yeah, well, go give me your takes. I know you say you liked Ozzie, to an extent, you know what I'm saying, but
yeah, I was doing some draft evaluation shows a few weeks ago for a different network, just helping them out a little bit. And I didn't know much about Ozzie. I knew about Christian Mahogany when he played with Mahogany because he did play with Mahogany the last 3-4 years over there at Boston College. I think that's also something for Lions fans to keep in mind. Also, with another tackle we're going to talk about in the next couple of weeks from William and Mary, another guy who played with a guy who's currently playing on our roster in Kobe Sourcedahl. But yeah, I'm going to get into my scouting report on Ozzie a little bit. I'm not the biggest fan of tackles over 6'6", because when you start talking about guys over 6'6", guys 6'7", 6'8", you start talking about guys having anchor issues, guys having issues with guys getting into their chest, getting into their midsection, being able to move them. Because if you can't drop anchor good enough, you're going to deal with these tackles, not these tackles, but these defensive ends who are the 6'4" guys, the 6'5" guys, a little bit starker build guys that can get to your chest, get you out of your sets a whole lot quicker. But I will say this, and I'm going to compare him to a tall offensive tackle from BYU and Chase Lunt, who we're going to talk about in the next couple of weeks as well, who I have the same kind of concerns with. Lunt is more of a basketball build type of player, type of offensive tackle, but Ozzie has a thicker, stronger build. And you can look at his arm, the size of his arms right there. You look at his legs. He's not this slim 309. He's a way thicker type of 309. I also think if you look at some of his strengths, he's better. To me, he's better right now in the run game than people give him credit for. You look at the versatility at Boston College quarterback-wise, he transitioned from a pass-heavy offense to a run-heavy offense within a couple years very steadily and stayed very productive. I think he steadily improved over the past 3 years in his pass pro. I think he gets into his pass sets at 6'8", 309. I think he gets into his pass sets quicker, if not just as quick as any other tackle in his class. And we're talking about like tackles who are currently ranked ahead of him. Two guys we're going to talk about in a few minutes. Kelvin Banks Jr. of Texas, as well as Cameron Williams, right tackle from Texas. I think overall, he's probably one of my favorite tackles in his class when it comes to his ability to get to the second level and create havoc as a run blocker. Now, a couple questions I do have about him. I wish, as strong and powerful as he is, I wish he would meet guys at the point of attack more and not just absorb so many pass rushes. You got some tackles who, like as I just said, they let the edge rushers, the defensive ends, hit them first, get into their chest first. Meet guys at the point of attack. Stop absorbing so many of these defensive ends. And I think he gets away with it because he is so strong and he does have those violent hands. And like I said, once again, once you start talking about 6'7", 6'8", you're talking about tackles starting to have anchor issues. Guys start overreaching too much. And you got to deal with these tackles who start playing over their toes too much. And as a tall offensive tackle, if you play over your toes too much, you're going to have big issues. So I would say decent at the time as far as his pass pro when it comes to mirroring guys and redirecting guys as well. So that was just a few notes. Currently, I do have. That was just me going through some notes I had from him about 3-4 weeks ago. Of course, as the NFL draft process continues to evolve, we're gonna start getting into some of these film studies on here. That's something we didn't have for you guys and you ladies last season. We will have offensive line film studies as well as defensive line film studies for the most part. Those are the type of film studies that are the easiest to do because you can see everything right there for what it is. It's kind of hard judging cornerbacks and linebackers in the film studies, even though you still have to do it. We still have to do it. But I think Ozzy's a guy who, once you start seeing the overall athleticism he does have, and the potential he does have, you're talking about the bloodline, the pedigree with his dad being in the league, he has some tools. And this class is full of 6'6", 6'7", 6'8" tackles. It's really strange, man, that a lot of these guys who played tight end in high school are now transitioning to playing tackle in college. And I think that's a easy way to point to where, at least why we're getting so many tall, more athletic offensive tackles coming into the league now. So anything else you want to say about Ozzy before we move on?
No, because I just want to see him in the combine. You know what I'm saying? He's just a guy that, really intriguing, man. Especially, when we get to the center of this, I want to see, the measurables, the individual workouts, and then I'd be really concrete. I just got a good feeling about this kid. I think as long as everything works out individually, I think he may move up around. You know what I'm saying? And maybe a guy you want to look at, especially if we get that 3rd round pick. You know what I'm saying? And we address the defensive end position first. If we go that route, with our first pick, you know what I'm saying? He's a guy you absolutely want to keep on your radar. And I think that the Lions will, draft an offensive lineman. I really do think, and I don't think it's gonna be, a 5th or 6th round pick. I think it will be a guy that will be in the first three picks this year. I really do. Because that's a need. It's a need. As much as people don't want to admit it, it's a need, man. That's what we need.
Yeah. And I think also when you consider how bad, and we've been saying that for the last 2-3 years, how subpar the tackle play has been in the league the last few years. I think center guard play, as far as the interior of the offensive lines, has been pretty good last few years coming out. You and I raved about Cooper Beebe last year, who the Dallas Cowboys saw enough in to take it the 2nd round. And as Lions fans, we're not trashing what happened.
Yeah.
But we sat up here and say, listen, if you had the opportunity right now to have either Cooper Beebe or Ennis Rakestraw, what direction you going in right now?
Yep.
And Cooper Beebe transitioned from left guard to center for Dallas and had a really good season at that spot. I know John Motley in the comment section, he can attest to that. So the tackle play in the league, though, has been kind of subpar last few years. And I think that's another reason why tackles are going to get pushed up, because everybody has to protect the quarterback's blind side at left tackle. Everybody wants to be able to develop the run game on the right side. So tackles like these guys will ultimately get pushed up anyway. But all right, let's get to your next guy, man. Will Campbell, left tackle, LSU. Yep. I think Will right now, he's one of the most polarizing tackles in this class because you either love him or you hate him. I see PFF still has Will Campbell ranked as a top 10 pick. They still have him ranked as the number 1 tackle in the class. I felt that way for a large period of this offseason, as well as earlier in the regular season, talking to some people around the league, scout-wise, scouts outside the league. Most people, the opinion on him has gotten kind of unanimous that he's going to be a guard at the next level. Now, whether you feel he's a left guard or a right guard, that's neither here nor there. Will got a lot of good characteristics, man. And before I get into my thoughts on Will, I'm going to get into your thoughts on Will Campbell.
Yeah. Man, listen. He's only given up 5 sacks in his career from a freshman standpoint, till now. I really do think Will Campbell is way better than I thought. You know what I'm saying? Initially, because I thought, a lot of guys get a lot of hype until you actually play. I watched a lot of LSU games. He just seemed like he just smooth in his approach. You know what I'm saying? Maybe he don't bring it as much every play, in the big games. Maybe he has a couple lapses. Like I say, he did give up 5 sacks, which is excellent in a collegiate career. I don't know if he's playing in the Senior Bowl. I didn't see him on the roster, so that's why I kind of had to step back a little bit and kind of watch and see if he's going to play in the game. But anyways, I do think, oh man, Will Campbell's a prospect, definitely first round pick. You know what I mean? Like you said, it's going to be funny to see which offensive lineman that the NFL teams, fall in love with first. You know what I'm saying? And see what the first guy going to come off the board. You know what I mean? Which domino's going to fall first. But I like Will, man. 6'6", 324 pounds. Definitely mean streak, man. Big, strong human being, man. You know what I mean? And that's another guy that would be excellent. And I do thought he might be oversized to be a guard, but kind of not really. I think that's where the league is going, man. I do think that position is getting more versatile than ever before, Walt. You know what I'm saying? You're getting these oversized guys playing a position, or maybe he could move to the right side, you know what I'm saying? And then ultimately, like I'm just saying, if he played for the Lions, maybe Penei Sewell could move to the left side and he could be more on the outside on the right, you know what I'm saying? That type of thing. But I like Will Campbell, man. I got him ahead of not the guys that you're going to bring, maybe Cam Williams, you know what I'm saying, the other guy we're going to talk about. But I definitely think, he's a top first round pick. You know what I'm saying? Can't wait for the combine because then I'll have more of analysis, more tape on this kid. He's just consistent. He's smooth. I mean, I maybe needs a little bit. The lateral movement might not be as great as some other guys that be in the class with him, but I just think it's a place for Will Campbell. Absolutely.
Yeah. I was a big Will Campbell fan last couple seasons. Remember when he came out, All-American, Army All-American. I will say this. The more I watched Will Campbell this year, he was still solid. There were some things that I didn't like at tackle. And I make this comparison. If listeners, I know you remember this name because we discussed his name a couple years ago. Any of the listeners out there, especially if you're a Michigan fan, Michigan State fan, Ohio State fan, whatever fan of a Big Ten team you are, you remember Pete Skoronski from Northwestern, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Yep. And there were a lot
Plays
of
for Tennessee, right?
Yep. There were a lot of the same type of questions about Pete Skoronski. I'm not a big arm length guy when it comes to tackles, as long as you have more size. When I look at him, though, to me, he's got an awkward type build to be a tackle at the next level. The arm length does scare me. When you're talking about a smallish type of live tackles, you're talking about a guy, I think he was 6'3", 6'3 and a half, 6'4". We're gonna find out the truth. We're gonna find out the truth at the combine, for real. But the arm length does scare me. And when I heard the arm length, we're gonna find out his true arm length at the combine. But from scouts, when I heard the arm length that they got from LSU, that does scare me. Because you're talking about an arm length that's shorter than what Pete Skoronski's arm length was. And if you're kind of smallish at the tackle position and you've got short arms and you're not the most athletic, I think he's athletic enough if he had more size, but he's also not the most athletic playing on the left side. And then if you're talking about moving him to the right side, is this somebody that you want to anchor your run game behind? That's a whole nother question, because if I'm going to throw you at right tackle, I need to for damn sure be able to anchor my run game behind you. That's a big question. I think he's more of a guard. I think he's a very violent offensive lineman, very powerful, and his lack of arm length won't hinder him at all at right guard or left guard. I still think he's a hell of a player. I think once the draft process starts to really unfold and some of these other names start to come out, guys who are bigger than him, a little bit more athletic than him, guys who may have higher ceilings from a physical talent standpoint than him, we'll start to see the water will actually start to, find its level. But I will say this, man. If he starts to slip late first round, he starts to slip to 20, 21, 22, 23, depending on what team is picking around that area in that range, I can see Detroit falling in love with a guy like him because he does have the versatility. Will you give him a shot to play tackle at the next level? Depends on the team he goes to. But if you view him as a guard from day one, which I hear a lot of scouts around the league do view him as a guard, I don't have no problem with it. If he fell to 28 and they took him as eventually an understudy or a replacement to Graham Glasgow for next year, or what's his name? Kevin Zeitler, a replacement for Zeitler next year if they decide to let Zeitler or Glasgow go. I have no problems with it, man. I have no problems with it at all because I think Will Campbell is that versatile of a player. Don't know about playing center. Center's different. Haven't heard much talk about him potentially moving to center. But I think he for damn sure can be a pretty good guard at the next level.
Yeah. But I want one of those big, those. Listen, last year I was high on Zach Frazier. Remember, it was Jackson Powers Johnson, and it was the two guys I kind of fell in love with in the draft process last year.
BB.
So, yeah, Cooper Beebe too, from Kansas State. So, yeah, I mean, I do think we got to cash in and get a similar type, or close to it in this draft. You know what I mean? To both that offensive line needs some a little bit of a maneuvering. You know what I'm saying? And that's fine. If you want to bring Zeitler back one more time, that's fine. I wouldn't sign him long term. Obviously, his age won't even require him to get at least not from us, I don't think. But the biggest X factor is Christian Mahogany is like how the organization feel about him. And now is Christian Mahogany a starter, or is he going to be a guy you flat out give him? Is he going to really basically take Glasgow's spot and then you get another guy to kind of platoon him? You know what I mean? So
I think he's going to get every opportunity this offseason because they do like him.
Yeah,
he's got a ton of experience at Boston College. And that was another reason why we did draw the connection between him and Ozzie, because they did play 3-4 years together at Boston College. So that's always something that you got to always factor into for the most part. But all right, let's move on to these next couple tackles, man. Same school. One guy plays left tackle. The other guy plays right tackle. Both of these guys are considered to be first-round picks. One guy right now is projected to be anywhere from a top 5 pick to number 15 to number 17. All depends on how you view these tackles. And we talked about before the video started, you can talk to right now 4 different people, 4 different scouts around the league, and you may get 4 different sets of answers between who they view as number 1 or number 2. But we're going to start with Kelvin Banks Jr. of Texas, 6'4", 320 pounds. I'm not sure how true the 6'4" is. Maybe closer to 6'3", I don't know. But this is a guy that, now this is different. He has a different set of issues. He has way longer arms than I'm about to say Pete Skoronski, but way longer arms than Will Campbell. I view him as a better overall prospect, man. You're talking about a guy who got the numbers up there. He had 1,543 career pass pro snaps. That's only 4 sacks in 3 years. He's only given up 4 career QB hits.
Yeah.
Very violent striker, high physicality.
Yeah.
He's a guy that gets to the second level. He gets out in space and moves very well. When he gets to the second level, he's a guy that looks for action. And what I mean by a guy that looks for action, when he gets to the second level, him and Cam Williams, we're going to talk about Cam in a minute. I think this is a testament to the Texas offensive line coach and how those tackles are coached at there, because those guys get to the second level and sticking to Banks. He gets to the second level and he's consistently looking for action. He's looking for linebackers to drop down on. He's looking for defensive tackles who may have fire zone. He'll go get those guys as well. Very durable. Very, very durable. Talking about a guy that hasn't missed any starts in a very long time.
Yeah.
Thick, stocky build, solid arm length. You can see his arms right there. He's a guy who's projected right now, like I said, to go anywhere from the top 10 to the top 20. I don't expect Kelvin Banks Jr. to be there at 28 at all, because he's that elite of a prospect. But he's a guy that once you start talking about offensive lines this time of year, and with there not being a concrete, consistent number one overall player,
Yeah.
number two overall player, any of these guys can go anywhere, and you can see a guy like Banks fall, anybody fall, depends on what favorite flavor those teams have in regards to offensive line. But what are your thoughts on Kelvin Banks Jr.? Because I know you told me you were very, very pleased with Banks Jr.
Yeah. Love him, man. Love him. I do think this kid's going to go high. I think in a year where everybody, well, in an era where everybody's still going bonkers over quarterbacks in the draft, I really do think that, Kelvin Banks Jr. would be a top 5 pick in some years. It's kind of remind me of Andrew Thomas a little bit coming out of college.
Damn good comparison. And I was trying to
Yeah.
find same exact body type. I think he's got longer arms than him, though.
Yeah, and I really do think that Kelvin Banks this guy's a beast, man. Of course anybody can fall. You're right, but I think that this guy right here, man, no way this kid falls past. I'm looking at the draft order right now. I had to look it up just to prove my point a little bit. Tennessee, Cleveland. Man, he could go to Cleveland because Cleveland needs offensive line help bad. The Giants, Patriots. I'm going back here. Jacksonville, the Raiders, not the Raiders. He could maybe the Jets if I don't whatever direction they going in quarterback wall. He not going past the top 10. This kid, man, he's amazing. This just everything you put the measurables, the body type. He's a big dude to even get around him, man. How the heck you gonna get around this guy, man? So. I think right now he's ready to plug and play, that type of thing. I just think he just has to get his footwork together. I think that when guys are that big, 324 pounds, usually I didn't watch how light he was on his feet. That would be the only one thing. If he gets caught flat-footed a lot, he may have to, have problem with holding and stuff like that in the NFL, rules and stuff like that. But man, this guy right here, if he leans on you or he able to get leverage on you, good night. It's curtains, man. You're not gonna be able to get around this guy, especially in rush the quarterback. You know what I'm saying? The run game, maybe that could be the one thing. Maybe he needs to, kind of get the run game and the schemes and like I said of an NFL. But basically, heck, Sarkisian, Texas ran basically a pro offense anyway, right? If I'm not mistaken. So I think his transition will be fine, man. I think he'll be fine. The speed of the game, but really like Kelvin Banks Jr.
Yeah, I think and we just being fair, and I'll give some of the questions I do have about Banks. I think his handwork is a little raw for right now.
Mm-hmm.
His homeboy down the line of scrimmage and Cam Williams, who we're going to talk about in a second, to me has better handwork right now. Also, and you can tend to see this with a lot of athletic offensive tackles like him, and you just brought it up. He doesn't really slide his feet very well. He's more of a jump setter, and what I mean by jump setter is when you watch tackles getting first of all of this is directed towards me as an offensive tackle getting into my pass sets. You want to see guys kind of slide their feet, no wasted movement. He's more of a jump. He'll jump with both feet, cut the DN off. He's very athletic at it, but you're not going to be able to really get away with that at the next level against these bigger, because you're talking about him going up against these edge rushers. Aiden Hutchinson is damn near 6'7". He's 6'6" and a half.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the longest arms, but Aiden has a high motor and he's 6'6" and a half. So you don't want to be a jump setter going up against a guy like Aiden. Aiden will ragdoll you all the way into the back of the quarterback. So I think that's one thing that you do have to be concerned with a little bit with him. And then, at least at the next level, you're dealing with, like I said, taller, longer athletes, more powerful athletes. That could be an issue for him. And it's funny you brought Andrew Thomas up because that was the main issue Andrew Thomas out of Georgia had when he first got to the league with the Giants. Remember the first couple of years, there were Giants fans and people around the league that were considering Andrew Thomas to be a bust. Andrew turned things around by year 3, and Andrew's been pretty decent for them moving forward. Yeah. But Andrew Thomas, same type of physical build. Long arms, I think Banks has longer arms than he had coming out, but
Yeah.
he had to eventually get out of that jump setting habit he had. And it took him almost 2 damn years to get out of it. Once he started to learn how to slide his feet better, getting into his pass sets, he became a way better player. So I'm shout out to you for bringing that up. Anything else you want to bring up about Banks? Because Banks is another guy. We're gonna get into the film studies in a few weeks
Mhm.
about these guys coming up.
Yeah, I like him. I'm just like I said, I want to see him at the combine. I want to see his physical. Like I said, we watch the tape, and it just be good sometimes refreshing to see him run, to see him, just see, just the regular stuff that people may not even think it's anything. But to me, I do think that it's going to be interesting to see what's being said about him after the combine and where he's being placed. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I mean, any young offensive lineman, I always just go to the footwork, man. And with him, it do seem like, he may need to just get his footwork together. That's all. It's there for him. It's all. Listen, when you play for Texas and you play, like you said, the way they play on offense, I mean, they have you semi-ready to begin with. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
It just basically,
They
you
asked
know,
their tackles to do a whole lot.
yeah. So yeah, man, I like Kelvin Banks Jr. Definitely, he's on our radar. So we already did a profile. So we'll revisit it again, like I said, when we get into film studies and the combine gets closer. So
Yep. All right, let's get into another guy who could possibly be there at 28, closer to 28. This is a guy who has the measurables. You look at the 6'5", 335. That's kind of where, even though I'm not a huge fan of the 330 plus pound offensive tackle anymore, as used to be in the 90s, early 2000s, whatever, I prefer my tackles 6'5", 6'6". Can I get you somewhere between 310 to 320? That's kind of where I want to keep my tackles at. But he's a hell of an athlete, man. And getting back to what I was saying about Steve Sarkisian and that offense at Texas, they ask their tackles to do a lot. It's a lot of zone there. They get their tackles out in space that tell them to get to the second level. This man is very, very violent. And if you can imagine 6'5", 335 pounds getting to the second level on linebackers
yeah.
and safeties, it's a problem. You're talking about 6'5", 335. I think it's a very well proportioned 335. If you look at him physically and compare him to T'Vondre Sweat, who was a defensive tackle last year, and this isn't T'Vondre Sweat. This right here is Cam Williams. That's not a bad proportion, 335 pounds. That's a well put together 335 pounds. I said the same thing about T'Vondre Sweat a year ago, and there were questions about his weight. The Sweat was 340 something. There was rumors that T'Vondre Sweat had gotten to 360. I don't know how true that is, but T'Vondre Sweat is a very, very huge human being. T'Vondre got to the league last year, and you can make the argument that regardless of position, offensive or defensive, T'Vondre Sweat was one of the most dominant rookies in the league. So the weight proved to not be an issue for him. But if you look at Cam overall, 2024, he played all 15 games, 561 pass protection snaps. He gave up 5 sacks, 3 hits, 18 hurries. That's not very good compared to what he did the past couple years, but this was also his first really full season as a starter. 1,121 career snaps at right tackle. I think ultimately at the next level, that's probably where he's going to be at right tackle. He's more of a guy that he's athletic enough. He has the size to play left tackle, but I would much rather probably have him at right tackle and anchor my run game behind him. He's got the versatility. I think he can play right tackle or right guard. Elite size and strength. Very high motor for that size too. Very high motor. And kudos. This goes back to me giving credit to the offensive line coach at Texas and the defensive line coach at Texas, because that was something people had an issue with T'Vondre Sweat's weight. When you watched T'Vondre Sweat on film last year, the last few years, you never questioned T'Vondre Sweat's effort. Byron Murphy, who played right next to him. Remember, I know you were a big Byron Murphy fan last draft. You never had to question those boys' effort. You don't question his effort either. Cam Williams, the hand pop, and I think he's a powerful driver in the run game. So I think even if you decide, it all depends on what you have as a team. And if you're comfortable with your left tackle and you feel like, hey, listen, 6'5", 335, powerful in the run game. That's his bread and butter. He's growing in pass protection. If I can get him from day one to be my anchor at right tackle, I'm with it. And I can take him in the middle of the first round, maybe towards the end of the first round. If you're Detroit and you say, you know what, Decker, we may move on from Decker. He may become a cap casualty, whatever could happen. Or if you just want to draft a guy like Cam Williams to be an understudy before 2026, you may want to move Penei Sewell to left tackle, play Cam at right tackle, whatever it may be. I think he's a hell of a talented player, man. And he's somebody for Lions fans to keep an eye on.
Yeah, well, I agree. Dominant in the run game. When you told me about this guy immediately, I went just to look at some stuff about the running game. His comparison, I don't see it, but they say Graham Barton is a comparable guy from him. Graham Barton went last year to the Tampa Bay Bucks. I think he was from Duke, first round pick. Yeah, mountain of a guy, man. Just I don't even think. I mean, I know this may sound disrespectful to other players. It just seemed like he may not even have to work that hard to just get his point across. That type of thing. You know what I'm saying? Like Braxton. You remind me of maybe Braxton Jones. What was that guy for? Was the Braxton Jones walk from
The Bears,
Chicago? We went to Bears. Maybe comparable to him. Big strong guy, man. Big strong guy in the running game. I think that's his strong suit is his hands, his upper body strength. I think that part he'll be able to wow teams. I think teams are going to wow when they see this kid, man, because he's so strong, man. And I think that strength is needed, especially to play the position that he plays, man. And like you said, to me, the only thing with him is I don't see any big injuries or anything like that he's had in his career or anything like that. Upright, to be able to have lateral movement, enough quickness, enough lateral movement to play the position. Now, I don't know if he is a guard. I think he may be better suited because of how big he is to be a guard, more so than the last guy we were just talking about. I think he is a guard. I think Davis could play. I mean, the last kid. I'm sorry, I can't think his name off the top of my head.
Kelvin Banks.
Banks. I said Davis. Banks is the guy I think could play more outside than Cam Williams. I think Cam Williams is a guard. You know what I'm saying? And he's nasty enough to be able to. I just like any lineman that can just anchor the run game, or you can run to his side and just run behind him and just maul people, man. I think that I love it with him, with this kid. But I think he's more of a guard, more so than a tackle.
Yeah, I think oddly enough, bless you. I think oddly enough, when you compare him to Banks, who's roughly 15 to 20 pounds lighter, couple inches shorter, doesn't have the same overall physical girth as a tackle that Cam has. Cam has looser hips, which is strange because you don't find tackles his size, and you compare him to a smaller tackle in his boy in Kelvin Banks. Usually the smaller, more athletic tackle has looser hips, better torque. He has looser hips and better torque than Banks, which gives me hope and faith that he can play right tackle. What gets me is also the fact that he's never played right tackle. I don't know if he played, left tackle. He's never played right tackle at Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he may have not right tackle, left tackle. He's never played left tackle at Texas. So taking a guy who's played right tackle pretty much their whole life and then moving him to left tackle at the next level, it can be kind of rough. Now, if you got a unicorn, a generational talent, like a guy like Penei Sewell, who went from playing left tackle pretty much his whole life to playing right tackle for us, struggled week one, and then just after that, been whooping ass ever since week one of his career, the first game of his career. But, aside from those things, also, questions, he gave up a decent amount of hurries. And I think the reason he didn't play as well. First of all, that's another issue where I think he's going to drop because he didn't play. This was really his first year as a full-time starter.
Yeah.
Overall. And he struggled. And what I noticed with him, smaller, defensive ends, faster guys, quick, twitchy guys, explosive guys gave him problems. And once again, when you get to like tackles his size, he has an issue with reaching too much. And I go back to the scouting report, reach too much, he plays over his toes. That's when he gets in trouble. And if you look at him physically overall, like I said, he doesn't have skinny legs at all.
No.
But he's a slimmer, big dude. So it's kind of struggle. It's a struggle for him sometimes to really drop anchor and catch these guys. When I talk about meeting these defensive ends at the point of attack, even at his size, you still don't want to give. These are still guys who are Division 1A players. And now you get to the NFL playing against NFL caliber defensive ends and edge rushers.
Yeah.
You cannot just sit back there and pass pro and just absorb these guys all day long. They'll kill you.
That's right. Yeah.
And you'll find yourself on the bench somewhere. So once he starts reaching too much, starts playing over his toes too much, he starts losing balance. You start seeing guys get leverage on him.
Yeah.
And that's when
6'5".
Yep. And that's when you start seeing tackles his size have issues. You go back to last year. Who was the tackle the Tennessee Titans took in the first one? J.C. Latham.
Yeah,
J.C. Latham was a
Bama,
huge human being.
Yeah.
Yes, and J.C. had his ups and downs as a rookie. And, he's a rookie tackle, so that's expected. But, he had his ups and downs dealing with certain types of edge rushers. And as an offensive tackle, you got to be a Swiss Army knife. Because 1 week you might be facing a defensive tackle, a defensive end the size of Marcus Davenport, 6'6", 275. Next week you might be facing J.J. Watt, a way smaller edge rusher.
Yeah.
So you got to be a Swiss Army knife as a tackle. You got to be able to have an answer for everything that these tackles, these defensive ends can throw at you. But I love his upside. I think he has a very high ceiling. He's around the size I like him.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? At right tackle, I'm cool with him at right tackle being 335. At left tackle, I'm not too cool with that at his size and his athleticism overall. But you go back to last year's draft, bring up another guy, Talise Fuaga, out of Oregon State. New Orleans Saints took him. He was pretty decent this year at right tackle. There was discussions about potentially playing him at left tackle. I said last year's draft, no. Talise is a right tackle. That's the guy that you anchor your run game behind, and he's done a pretty good job for the Saints. So, anything else you want to say about Cam Williams? I know you wasn't that in-depth on him yet. We're going to get in-depth on it because we're going to go through the joint Texas offensive lines film report, which is going to be both of them guys on the board. We're going to go through the entire offensive line for Texas overall and evaluate those guys. Someone asked me, well, why didn't he play more early at Texas? I'm like, well, if you go back to the last 2 or 3 drafts, man, Texas now has some offensive linemen go. Cosme was a few years ago, but was it Christian Jones? Christian Jones, the tackle that went. Did he go to? I think he went to the Commanders last year. They've had some tackles get drafted, so it's not like he was just sitting on the bench because he couldn't play behind a bunch of stiffs. Like they had some good tackles, and it's a situation where it's just his turn.
Yeah.
It's his turn, him and Banks. Anything else you want to mention about Cam, though?
No. I want to just, again, I want the combine, more film study will tell the story on this kid. You know what I'm saying? To be, it will determine the fact, where he's going to be pegged. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, I think it's some other guys, just as good as Cam Williams. I got another guy I mentioned was John Connerly from Oregon. You know what I'm saying? We could maybe do something on him that I would maybe prefer over Cam Williams. But that, like I said, 6'5", 335. I do think lateral movement for him, a guy his size, will be something that can be coached. All these guys can be coached. I mean, from bad habits to just fake hip and foot placement, all that stuff can be coached. You know what I'm saying? So it is, like you said, absolutely it's upside with Cam Williams, man. So.
All right, man. Hell of a show. Everybody's still watching. Let us know what you thought about today's show. We spent the first half hour, of course, because it was been almost a week, a few days. We had to break down what was going on. Of course, Detroit Lions news. Everybody running about the Ford Field like the building on fire or whatnot. But Ben Johnson gone. I'll say Dan Campbell gone. Aaron Glenn's gone. Some other guys in the room gone. But we wanted to just mainly get started on the draft for you guys today because East West Shrine Bowls next week. Senior Bowls next weekend, next Saturday, which means Senior Bowl practices all week. We're going to be with y'all during next week, doing some Senior Bowl discussions on offensive linemen, some other players for that matter, keeping you guys involved. Because it's draft time, man. Nobody, and you mentioned it, nobody expected us to be sitting around here doing this shit this early, dog. Like, I didn't expect to be sitting here talking about the draft right now, man.
Right.
Maybe after this week, we could have, lost to
Right.
Philly or somebody like that, but I didn't expect to be sitting here after the Commanders game. And shout out to the Commanders fans out there. Y'all showed up
Yeah.
in the comment section a couple weeks ago. We gave
Yeah.
y'all a hard time. We was wrong. I don't think it was a lack of respect. At the end of the day, I think most people had the Detroit Lions favored in that game. It's not like nobody disrespected y'all for not making y'all favorites over a 15-win team. And as fans, I hate when fans play the whole disrespect role. How much respect did you expect to get going up against a 15-win team?
Yeah.
Like, what do you want people to say? And I don't think people were disrespecting y'all. I think at the end of the day, Jayden Daniels proved to be that damn special. The Commanders came prepared to play offensively as well as defensively. Terry McLaurin showed up.
He's tremendous, man. He's tremendous.
Brian Robinson had a good game. I think y'all,
Yeah.
Washington Commanders, y'all offensive line had a really good game against our defensive line for damn sure.
Yeah.
And y'all deserved to win the game. We played like shit, and Washington deserved to win the game.
Facts.
Yep. But yeah, we got a whole lot of draft content coming for y'all coming up. We know Lions fans, y'all stacked and stoked. Y'all ready for this, man? Like I said, Senior Bowl coming up next week. East Shrine Bowl coming up. We got more offensive linemen coming up for y'all next week. And then I guess we're going to stay on the offensive side of the ball. Maybe get to some of the skill positions, talk quarterback. Talking quarterback going to be interesting, man.
Yeah, this is an interesting year for quarterbacks. It really is.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. All right there, man. Anything else you want to say to these great fans before we get up out of here?
I mean, I just want to say, to just put a bow on the season. We haven't done that yet. And, first of all, thanks everybody who always chime in every week, man. We went from, preseason to, I mean, our season never ends because we're going in the draft, and then, it'll be training camp. It'll be, you know what I'm saying? So we don't have an off season, but for the season in general, to be 15-2 and for it to end the way it did, it was disappointing. You know what I'm saying? But I know the reality is this. I know that it's not over for us as a organization. You know what I'm saying? It's not. It's really not. It's disappointing how the season came to end. Listen, Baltimore went home. You know what I'm saying? I mean, not that you know what I'm saying? A lot of teams lost. The Rams had a shot and went home. Only one team wins the Super Bowl every year. You know what I'm saying? Two teams go, but one win. And we didn't get it done. You know what I'm saying? But I don't think like it's the end of anything. Like people saying it's the end of this, end of that. It will be the end if we had incompetent leadership, like you said.
Thank you very much.
It would be the end if we didn't trust our GM, right? Then it would be the end. But I don't think it is. Just like I just seen a graphic. I don't know how true it is. The Lions could bring Arlovsky. They could bring Calvin Johnson in as coaches. You know what I mean? I mean, Larry Foote got an interview. I mean, I don't know. People just think that the world's going to stop because of our world's going to stop in Lions. Because listen, and then I don't want to take none away. It's a big loss, Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson. It is. You know what I'm saying? But the only thing I worry about, not worried, but going into next year that we may not be as good, especially early in the season, is adjusting to new coordinators. You know what I'm saying? It may be a situation where it may take a whole year, maybe the end of the year, where we get some continuity, or the following year. You know what I'm saying? So listen, our window's not closed. The organization's not going to go back to what they were. We don't have to worry about that. You know what I'm saying? So that's all I want to say.
Me unmute myself. I mute myself every time you're talking. I show my respect. Yeah, I couldn't agree. I couldn't agree more, man. I think that loss to the Commanders to me felt like an NCAA tournament kind of loss, where you be the number 1 seed, number 2 seed, and you happen to run up against a team that you don't know a damn thing about. You ain't played them all season, and their style just jumps on you, and there's nothing you can do about it. And I said this,
And
the
you
Houston
mentioned
game.
that. You mentioned
Yeah,
that too. You said a team
yeah.
that you haven't played before is dangerous. Yeah.
Yeah, you look at the Houston game, man. I wasn't surprised that Houston did to the Chargers what they did to them, because I said that before the game. If you're not used to the Houston and what they do with their front seven, Houston will jump on you and they will cause you a whole lot of problems. Look at us. They gave us problems for the first 3 quarters of that game before we finally managed to pull things out and win in walk-off fashion. But
Yeah.
if you're not used to seeing Houston and you haven't played Houston all season like the Chargers didn't,
Mm-hmm.
Houston will catch you by surprise. And I think that's what happened with Washington. You're talking about a mobile quarterback, a quarterback that doesn't turn the ball over. Their type of offense, everything is paper cut, a whole lot of lateral, a whole lot of play action. They lure you to sleep and then attack you downfield like they did with the perfect throw to Terry McLaurin, the throw they had to De'Ami Brown. That type of stuff, you can watch it on film, but if you haven't seen it all year, it's rough. And we look like an NCAA tournament team that got jumped on by an 8 seed. Or not, or a 12 seed, or was it? 15's always beating 2s in the
Yeah,
NCAA.
14 beat a
Yeah.
3. Yeah, yep. That was a good analogy. That's exactly what it was. I agree. Totally agree.
So, all right, man. I want to thank everybody for joining us, man. Appreciate each and every one of y'all who joined in for the live. Appreciate each and everybody. Appreciate everybody.
Yeah.
Who gonna jump in and watch the video on YouTube for the next few days, weeks, hopefully, for that matter. Remember, hit the like and subscribe buttons. We really appreciate it. We will be back very soon to bring y'all more NFL draft content. Till next time, One Pride.